What's your naughty little secret? When I was in high school, I failed second semester of biology. So here comes the next year and I have to retake it again. I pass first semester, but fail second semester, which means retaking the entire class. Well, I transferred schools after that. When I was getting all my transfer information looked over in the office at the new school, the woman noticed I had 2 passed first semesters, but never passed a full class. I said passing 2 semesters is kinda like the full class. She winked, and that was that. No more BO. So I guess it's our dirty little secret. When I was a kid, my mom took away my favorite computer game CD for a few weeks as punishment for something I did. Bad grade, I think. I found where she hid it, photocopied the CD label, cut out the print, glued it to a blank disc, and put that in the place of the real CD. Surprisingly, she never noticed. I played it when no one else was home. It's been 18 years, and I still haven't told her. One time when I was like 5 to 9 years old, my dad was shopping around at a lumber store. I wandered around alone and couldn't find a bathroom. I had to pee so bad, so I just found a secluded back corner behind some wood and pissed on the floor. 30 years later, I still drive by that place every day and remember. I act a lot stupider at work, so they don't rely on me too much. When I was about 8 to 9, I was sent to a summer camp for 1 month. My sister, who was 14, also was there. Never been away from my parents before. This camp was located around Lake Delton, Wisconsin. I remember the cabins in the woods. Now I don't know if I had arachnophobia before this experience, but I recall that the toilet stalls had dozens of daddy long leg spiders all over, and I was so scared I just held it in for about 4 to 5 days. Well, one day I just couldn't hold it anymore and had to make a run for the toilets. I semi-ran/walked to the toilets, trying to hold it in. Made it into the main area where the sinks are and just couldn't hold it anymore, and just quickly, with one hand, pulled down my pants from behind and dropped the biggest dump on the tile floor, all while still in motion towards the toilet. Thank God no one was in there to see this. When I stepped out, a large group had formed outside, and inside one of the staff was covering his face with one hand and holding a hose in the other. No one suspected me. I thanked God that no one found this out, as if they had, the rest of my stay there would have been utter torment. Fast forward about 30 years, I'm at my parents' house with my wife. My sister is there as well. Brothers. Anyway, we are talking and camp comes up. Told her that it was me who did that. She nearly laughed to death, saying the entire camp talked about this all summer. Hate spiders up until this day. Good times. 5-year-old me ruined my parents' marriage. I distinctly remember finding what I now know is a condom, unused, in our old station wagon. Me not knowing any better began playing with it. Got done, tossed it in the trash. Fast forward a short time later, my father returns home and begins to drag the can to the road. As he closes the lid, he notices said condom, and you can guess where it goes from there. I didn't learn that was the reason until I was about 14 to 15. A co-worker retired, and I inherited one of his reports, which is one of my employer's key performance metrics. Every 2 weeks it would take him an entire 8-hour day to complete. The first week I was able to automate most of it down to 1 hour. Over the next nearly 10 years, I've improved it to the point that it runs in less than a minute, then 14 minutes to quality check it. I then spend the next 8 hours surfing Reddit, watching movies, doing whatever I want in my office from home. All this time, I've told my boss it takes me 8 hours to perform, and sometimes I'll tack on extra hours because of technical issues. No questions asked, as long as it's in his inbox by Cobb Friday. About 8 years ago, I had a conversation with a coworker who works for my boss. It turns out he receives the report on Monday and never reads it. It gets filed away, and the only time they get looked at is during an audit. I've had to discuss the reports just twice and showed them, and so I wrote that demonstrates how it's done without the automation. Auditor checks the box. Next item. Whenever I'm on vacation, I turn the SOP over to someone else who'll have to compile the report by hand. When I get back, they've always mentioned how do you do all that in just 8 hours. At this point, I've charged my boss nearly an entire year for sitting on my A. I lost the school spelling bee on purpose. The girl I was against put a lot of time and effort into it, whereas I basically just showed up. Plus, She was more on the nerdy side, not a lot going outside of school, and I felt she needed a victory. She missed a word. I purposefully missed it to keep her in. This happened a few times. Later, I missed one on purpose to give her the victory. She went on to the state competition. The teacher giving the words threw me a look of disgust, as she knew what I did. Oh well. I have a kitten I'm feeding without my wife's knowledge. She hates cats, and I found one on the street. Every night before I go home I stop by the store and get cat food. She always asks me why I come home late every other night. I say I'm working or out with the guys, but I sit and talk to this stray cat about my problems and how my day was. I named her Sinner, from Sinner's Sacrifice. My boss has a daughter that is the same age as me, 19, and he brought her to work one day so she can use the office printer for her college applications. We do security for a building where everyone is working from home, so it was just me, him, and her. He tells me to show her to the 4th floor and just keep her company so she's not by herself. We got to talking, we are flirting hard, and eventually we made out and traded numbers. We've been hooking up every month when she's in town from school for the past 6 months now. My boss has no idea. When I was a kid, I farted into a little box over and over for a full year. It was a tin. Some Christmas cookies came in with a picture of Santa on it. Every single time I had to fart, I lifted the lid, put it in the box, and quickly closed it. Before long, the box was successfully weaponized and ready for deployment. When my brother was mean to me, I'd steal his Oakley's expensive horrible 90s sunglasses and put them in the box to marinate overnight. Then I'd quietly return them. My brother continually complained to my mom about how they smelled and that they'd sold him a bad pair and wanted new ones. She was like, hell no dude, so he just kept wearing them till they broke. So basically I farted into my brother's eyes for a year, never told anyone. I'm a therapeutic foster parent. When kids leave us to go back home, I'm usually really happy for them, unless I don't think their family is going to be able to handle things safely. Then I'm worried as could be, but I'm also selfishly completely heartbroken. I think about our former kids all the time. When they go home, I try to write our name and phone number in a bunch of their books so they can maybe find us again, and I keep my Facebook pages unlocked as possible, hoping they will feel they can reach out if they need anything. I want to foster forever, but I also wonder if I can keep saying goodbye like this. It absolutely guts me, and I know I have no right to feel that way. One time when I was 10 to 12ish, I told a group of friends that I brushed my teeth with hot water instead of cold water, our cultural norm, just to seem quirky or cool, and man did it get the reaction I was hoping for. However, it was all a lie. I did brush with cold water, and this lie was too heavy for my preteen soul. So every day since then I have brushed my teeth with hot water. Despite being 15 years older, I feel trapped in my hot teeth scrubbing sentence, yet it feels right as a punishment for lying. I've seen both of my sisters-in-law naked. I accidentally walked in on my brother's wife whilst she was changing. I didn't realize she was in the room and just walked in. She knows it was me, but we've both just pretended that didn't happen. My wife's sister asked me to fix her laptop as it wasn't working. Turns out it hadn't had a Windows update for nearly 4 years and was filled with all description of bloatware and malware. She had 4 address bars on her browser and her pretty explicit nudes in prime position in her downloads folder. I returned her laptop in working condition with a new folder named private. So yeah, she knows I saw them, but no one else does. I know exactly the rules for helping the children in my public education classroom, but I still bring cold kids coats, hungry kids food, kids with terrible shoes better shoes, and hugs/long conversations for any child that asks. If any admin is pissed I'm giving an apple and a sandwich to a kid. I claim ignorance. The school system is so strained they won't fire me, so I'm doing what I can during this time. About a week before Christmas I bought a disposable weed vape and started using it a few times a week at night after I put the kids to bed. It has legitimately helped me overcome depression. I still haven't told my wife. That is part of what I'm doing. When I go play video games before coming to bed, she is pretty anti-drug, but not for any historical reason, quite the opposite. It's more of an unknown to her. I know I need to have a conversation about it with her, but I just don't know how to start it. Oh my god, I've been waiting a long time to share this. Okay, so when I was about 12 years old I was at my aunt's house with my brother. She was out of the room, and so was my brother, and I had this sudden urge to take a picture of my bear, but with my disposable camera. So I went into the front room of the house, turned off all the lights, and pulled down the back of my pants, and the second I hit the shutter release, and the flash went off, that's when my brother entered the room and saw my penis light up in the complete darkness. He later told my mom about what happened. I didn't get in any trouble, but my mom told me we are never going to get that roll of film developed. One summer I pocketed $1,700 cash from cover charges over the course of a 4th of July weekend working as a doorman at a bar in a popular summer lake town. I was 19 years old, being paid $8.50 an hour to break up fights, deal with drunk college girls with wandering hands, and listen to rich 20-something-year-old boys threaten me by telling me how powerful their fathers were. I never felt bad about it. I started lying about my experience with construction site work experience 4 years ago. Today, I'm a site superintendent that Googles answers to questions raised by other trades. By time I say that's a great question, let me get back to you on that. I make $90,000 a year doing this. Been steady for 2 years now. I slept with my mom's friend. She was younger than my mom. She was 32, and I was 20 at the time. She stopped me one day as I was walking by her apartment and asked if I could take a look at her laptop because the Wi-Fi wasn't working. I said of course and started looking for the cause of it. While I was on her couch with a laptop, she comes out of the kitchen with a bottle of tequila and 2 shot glasses. At that point I knew the real reason I was there. Needless to say, there was nothing wrong with her Wi-Fi. I, 37 meters, hear voices in my head and have for as long as I can remember. They say negative things about people around me, or if I'm alone they'll talk about my insecurities or regrets. I've become a master at ignoring them, but I do have moments where they're almost so loud that I can't hear what's going on around me. My mother was the only one who knew about them, but she passed away 12 years ago. My wife doesn't know, but I'm sure she has an idea that something is up. I love her to death, but I don't intend on ever telling her. Maybe selfish, but that's just what I want. Back in college, I took a computer class that dealt with Excel and such. I was way over my head because 1, I didn't want to take the class. 2, I'm bad with computers. The way tests worked was that we'd open up a blank test template on the computer we sat at and follow instructions. As I was opening up the copy, I saw the copy of the kid before me. I quickly wrote down his name and saw that he got a ton of the easier steps/questions. So I blindly trusted this person and copied their entire test. Test came back and I got an A. Boom. Homework was pretty easy, multiple choice quizzes on the reading, all open book/notes. So I reached out this guy and told him what happened. Turns out he was doing this with someone else in another period. Ended up getting a 97 in that class, and it boosted my GPA into the good enough for a small scholarship territory, like $500 for books, but basically didn't learn nothing. Thank you, Paul, you're a good man.